running is like all of that stuff I had on those big adventures, but just concentrated down into like a kind of quick dose, if that makes sense. It's great to have other runners that are better than you and faster than you and more experienced than you, because that is just something on the horizon. Psychologically, in a weird way, it felt easier to just think about 10 chunks rather than 42 chunks, if you see what I mean. Personally, I just love getting out in the great outdoors. I love the fresh air. I love the way it makes us feel. So my name's James Forrest. I live in Cumbria near the Lake District. I'm really into the great outdoors. I love hiking. I love adventuring. I love wild camping. But over the last year or so, I've really got into my running, taking it quite seriously. And I've kind of set myself as targets to try and set all these PBs in my 40th year. So I turned 40 this year. So to try and maybe prove to myself that I'm not an old man that's over the hill. I'm trying to set all these kind of running PBs. So that's just a little bit about me in a nutshell.
In terms of kind of the transition from the outdoors, I mean, we're still in the outdoors, but when I say the outdoors, I'm talking about some of your achievements in the mountains. That transition is, I mean, it's quite a big one from doing some of the things that you've done to then hitting the road and looking for these PBs. Just give people a little bit of a background to the mountain man, James Michael Forrest.
Yeah, sure. So I've always loved hiking. I've always loved climbing mountains, and it actually all kind of kicked off in 2017. I'd been living in a city, working in an office. I was living in Birmingham. I was kind of a little bit down with the life that I'd created for myself. I'd been living in the city for a decade, working in an office, and I kind of really wanted to grab a bit more adventure in my life. And so I set myself this target to try and climb all the 2,000-foot mountains in England and Wales. Just totally got a bug for it from there, and kind of went on this crazy journey where I did these mountains in England and Wales in 2017. I climbed 273 peaks in Ireland and Northern Ireland in 2018, and then I did the Munros in Scotland in 2019, and had this 3-year epic expedition, and that really just improved my life. It was amazing for my mental health, it was amazing for my fitness, and it really made me much a happier person. And it was an incredible journey, kind of changed my life, I guess. And then since then, I've just really been kind of developing in my relationship with the outdoors and the adventures I like going on, and kind of changing a bit over time, and found running over this last kind of year or two, and it's been amazing.
3 years is a very long time to have a goal, though. Like you say, you climbed all those mountains over 3 years. How do you stay motivated over such a long period? Because if you're training for a marathon, or even a 5K or a 10K, you're talking a 16-week training block, 20-week training block, maybe. 3 years is a heck of a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, I don't think when I've started at the beginning, I necessarily knew exactly where this journey was going. I kind of started first with that just initial goal of these peaks in England and Wales. So it kind of maybe more of a kind of initial 1 year, and then it kind of quickly spiraled into a 3-year mission. But yeah, stay motivated. I think I kind of always chunk things up into kind of bite-sized goals. So I wasn't really thinking about the whole project, which could potentially feel overwhelming. I was just thinking, oh, this weekend I'm going to go to this place and hike for 3 days and climb these 15 peaks or what have you. And that just seems quite achievable and is fun and is an achievable goal. And then it kind of, if you put all those bite-sized chunks together, suddenly you've got this kind of grand mission and this grand overall project. But I loved setting myself these goals as well, because it's really just it's an amazing motivator. It's like a big kind of kick up the backside. So if you have a weekend or a week where you're feeling a little bit lethargic, or your motivation isn't that high, or it's a bit rainy, or you think, oh, I could just stay at home and, watch Netflix and not bother. But if you've got that kind of overall structure to your kind of exercise and structure to your adventuring, and that overall goal, it just gives you that extra bit of oomph to get out there and make it happen. So for me, I love doing that.
What's that like looking back at now?
I mean, it's something I'm really proud of. It's something that I have really fond memories of, going to amazing places, climbing amazing mountains, getting amazing views, having that real sense of escapism, tranquility, kind of a little sense of adventure. But that maybe I've got the rose-tinted glasses on there as well, because there were a lot of tough times, and definitely took quite a few severe batterings from the British weather along the way. So it wasn't all sun-drenched ridges and kind of it wasn't all like Instagram filtered perfect times, if you see what I mean. But I do have fond memories, and I'm really, really proud that I did it. And mostly, I personally just love getting out in the great outdoors. I love the fresh air. I love the way it makes me feel. I just think if I'm at home and surrounded by technology, working all the time, I find that that can easily become a bit claustrophobic for me. I can find myself getting a bit frustrated, a bit stressy, a bit anxious, and just spending time outside is always a perfect antidote for me. And obviously, in those years, I was going for kind of an extreme version of it, heading to the hills and heading to these wild places and spending a lot of time outside, and whole weekends at a time sleeping outside. But I wish I've kind of found running is like a perfect small dose of that. So if I'm at home working all day at my laptop, just a run in the evening or a run at lunchtime, it just snaps you out of that tech-centric kind of stress and kind of tense kind of world, and just really levels me out, and kind of is perfect for my mental health, I think. So running is like all of that stuff I had on those big adventures, but just concentrated down into like a kind of quick dose, if that makes sense. So
when did it first kind of cross your mind then to think about like getting out on the trails a little bit more in a running sense, or hitting the road a little bit more in a running sense? When did that first kind of start really kind of piercing itself into your life?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of the beginning of last year, so the beginning of 2023. I would say that I've always enjoyed running. It's not like I'd never gone running before I was just a hiker, but I had spent a lot of time kind of focusing on hiking for many years. I'd always run to kind of stay fit, and just on days when I couldn't get to the hills, but I'd never really taken it particularly seriously. Kind of the initial transition for me was kind of doing some trail running races. So obviously I love being in the hills. I love being in forests or nice countryside, and I signed up to a few different trail running races. I found that's a great dose of getting out into the countryside, the fresh air, a bit of escapism. Enjoyed doing that, and then slowly kind of transitioned into some of this road racing I was doing. That really all happened by accident. Bit of a slightly bizarre story, but I got the opportunity to run a marathon in Kazakhstan, as you do, a road marathon. And it was in a city called Almaty in Kazakhstan, and I'd never done a road marathon before. I went and did this race. I got 3 hours 25, I think, and I was just kind of wowed by the experience, because the people supporting you on the road was amazing, gave such a buzz. I was running with this group of people all trying to get under 3:30 with the pacer. We had like this real cool camaraderie going on. It's kind of weird because it's pretty much all Kazakh runners. And then because I was a Westerner, everyone was kind of like interested in me and why I'd come there and what the story was. And just getting to the finish line was such a buzz. And that one race kind of really just gave me kind of got me hooked, really. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to try and set all these PBs, having just turned 40. So I've sort of taken that on quite early stages in this little challenge I've set myself, I guess. But I've been doing park runs. I've done a couple of other half marathons, and I did a one more marathon. So maybe I quite easily get seduced by these different sports and these different ideas. So obviously running's kind of got it claws into me, and I've been going full throttle for it ever since.
Yeah, you ran with us at Oulton Park, 3:02:11, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So close to sub 3.
Yeah.
But like that is a significant jump from the first marathon.
Yeah.
What did you kind of implement ahead of that? Was it a more like strict training program? Was it just kind of taking the steps up the distances and focusing on different distances and then hitting the marathon? What was different between that first one and then that one?
When I first started out, I was literally I was very simplistic in my approach. I'd just literally go and do 5Ks or 10Ks or 15Ks and just run at kind of like a sort of 70% every single kilometer, just a very kind of standard approach. So yeah, I wasn't doing any tempo runs. I wasn't doing any fartlek sessions or anything like that. But what really changed it was that I joined my local running club in the town where I live. So I live in Cockermouth in Cumbria. I joined the local club, which is called Derwent Athletic Club. It's really sociable, really nice crowd. Do club runs on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, and Sunday I was doing these like tempo runs and all the sessions the coaches put on, and that just opened my eyes to it all, and suddenly thought, oh wow, there's so much more to this that can help. And so I think going to those runs just regularly alongside my own solo training sessions really helped me boost that time from take a big chunk off my PB at that Oulton marathon. And if I keep persisting with the club runs and everything they're helping me with, I think that hopefully might get me under that 3-hour milestone.
Yeah, man, you've definitely got that. The difference between running with a club and being out in the mountains on your own must be different for you in terms of you're used to doing a lot of these things solo and the effort solo. Was that kind of a different process, a different feeling?
I mean, it was very different, but I feel like with my running, I can do both. So if I go for my sort of long weekly run on a Sunday or a Monday, I can do that by myself, and I can maybe head on the country roads and into some of the countryside near me and have that sense of a bit of me time and a bit of escapism and a bit of time with your own thoughts just out on the trail. But then it's been so nice to kind of meet people in the club, and it's quite sociable, and it's great to have other runners that are better than you and faster than you and more experienced than you, because that is just something on the horizon to aim for. And I found that really, really great, something to kind of push myself towards. If you're running with people that are faster than you, that always pushes you to go that extra bit harder. So that's been great. And but the main thing with the running club for me is just giving a bit of structure to the week. I've found that if I just woke up on a Monday morning and I'm like, oh, I've got 7 days ahead of me, what's my training plan? Every run is just by myself. Every run is you got to have that self-motivation to get out there when it's raining, when it's dark, when it's cold, when you don't really feel like doing it. That's kind of a tough psychological hurdle to overcome. Whereas with the running club, it's fun, it's sociable, and you know exactly when it is each week. So it's kind of it's in the diary in ink, not in pencil, so you can't rub it out, so to speak. Yeah.
And when you're with people as well, there's no oh, I don't feel that good, I'm going to go back home, I've got this on the plan, but I'm going to cut it short, because you feel like you need to do it. And like you said, the beauty of running, I think, is that there is always that person ahead of you, isn't there?
Oh, always. It's kind of really annoying when it's either like a sort of someone with a sort of 65-year-old vet that sprints past you, or someone wearing a T-Rex costume or something like that. But
carrying a washing machine on their back, yeah, it can get
exactly.
a bit bleak when it's something like that.
Yeah.
You've mentioned sort of you wanting to break all these PBs in your 40th year, 5K, 6K, half marathon.
Yeah.
Have we got numbers that we're putting on them? Is there time goals in mind, or is it kind of just getting below where you're at this point?
I mean, but from what I'd done in the past when I was younger, I'd kind of never really kind of been a PB kind of person, so I didn't know exactly where I was at. But I kind of had these kind of main milestones, I guess I was aiming for. So I knew that I'd never run under 20 minutes in a 5K. I'd never run under 40 minutes in a 10K. I'd never run under 1:30 in a half marathon, and I'd never run under, I'd never done a marathon before. So, but kind of 3 is my goal for the marathon. So I've done under 20 minutes on a 5K with a couple of park runs, but I'm still trying to kind of get that down. I think I can go a bit faster. 10K I haven't done yet, so that's still up for grabs. The half marathon I did under 1:30 in November, I think, at Lancaster half marathon, and the marathon is kind of the big goal. I'm almost tempted to go back to the Oulton Grand Prix, because I think there's a marathon is it in February or March or something like that?
Yeah.
I love that course, and because I was so close, just 2 minutes away, partly sort of tempted, feel like I might have unfinished business there, but it was the slight little undulations that I found quite challenging, but I mean, it was a fast course for sure, and I really enjoyed it. So
I think the beauty of those sort of multi-lapped courses in the Running Grand Prix sort of series is that they are very easy to pace, because you know exactly what is going to be coming around you at the next lap. And as long as you can mentally deal with the fact that you've got 10 laps to do, I think you're in a good place to get a fast time. There's another one at Goodwood as well.
Okay.
So very, very fast.
I would say that with the lapped race, I was a bit worried about that. I thought it might be really kind of, I might find it boring, or I might struggle with it. What I loved was that actually, rather than in other races, sometimes I'm just counting kilometers, I think in kilometers. So to get to 42 kilometers is a lot of individual segments to go through. I just found myself thinking of that race in terms of 10 laps, 10 segments. So I wasn't thinking about kilometers at that point. I was just thinking, I knew what pace I needed to run for each lap. So suddenly I chunked the marathon into just 10 bite-sized chunks, and that was kind of really good, actually. That for psychologically, in a weird way, it felt easier to just think about 10 chunks rather than 42 chunks, if you see what I mean. So
yeah,
that worked quite well for me somehow. The psychology of it is quite fascinating, and it's kind of interesting how you can make things seem easier or harder depending on how your brain is working. So
where do you go in those hard times then? Like, because a marathon always gets tough. Where are you going in your head? What are you telling yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the best times is when I'm not really thinking. I almost go into kind of like a robotic mode, like an autopilot, like my brain's kind of a little bit vacant, or just I'm quite kind of focused, but not thinking of like, oh, my legs are aching, or my lungs are burning, or oh my God, I've got so much further to go, or anything like that. If I can get into kind of a robotic trance almost, if I'm just in the zone, that's ideal. I mean, sometimes I do things like just try to start counting to a really high number, but yeah, it's tricky. I don't really have a kind of perfect system for that. I don't listen to music usually when I run, so I know sometimes some people that can be a really good kind of way to distract your mind. I mean, I listen to music when I'm training, but not when I'm doing a marathon. Maybe because usually what I'm listening to when I'm training is a sort of a true crime podcast about some sort of horrific serial killer, so it doesn't sort of really fit very well with the sort of jubilant sort of carnival style approach of when you're actually running a marathon. So when I actually do races, I don't take my headphones, but
yeah, break 3 hours and celebrate with Ted Bundy in your ears.
Exactly, yeah.
We've kind of spoken about the mountaineering side of things at the start of this conversation, and some of the similarities. You said like running is kind of similar vibe, just in a very smaller, time orientated space, I guess. What are the main similarities and the differences between the longer mountaineering stuff and running?
I think there's loads of similarities. A lot of the hiking challenges that I did, so they were challenges. It was aiming for a goal. It wasn't just a pleasant day walk around the lake. It was a kind of physical endurance kind of challenge. And even though the pace of those was lower, I guess some of the attributes that help you get through that are things like dedication and commitment and determination and being slightly single-minded, and all of those kind of things I see very similar to running. So I think because I've had experience in these hiking challenges of digging deep and focusing on a goal and being dedicated to something and putting my all into something, that all of that relates really well to running. So I think that's kind of helped me for sure. I would say that I still love hiking. I still enjoy going out hiking, and I find the pace of hiking is a little bit, maybe it's obviously calmer. It can be a bit kind of more therapeutic, maybe a little bit for me. Sometimes running is very much all about kind of the physicality of it and the physical challenge, but I'd see more similarities than differences, maybe.
What's it going to be like when you cross the line, wherever that might be, look down at your watch and it says 2 something? How does it feel, do you reckon?
I mean, I think it will feel great. I really love setting myself a goal and achieving it, and I guess I'm kind of doing it for me hopefully more than any sort of anything else. But I am aware from all these other challenges I've done that I don't fixate really on the destination, on the goal, because then you can get like the I think it's called the like arrival fallacy or something like that, where you set a goal and think so much about it, think it's going to be so amazing when we get there, and then it can feel a bit anticlimactic potentially. Certainly that could have been the case with some of my mountain challenges, reaching the final peak of doing like 273 peaks in Ireland that I did in 8 weeks. I was almost thinking about that peak for so long, and then you get there by yourself and it's a bit like, oh, is that it? There's no fireworks or there's no crazy celebrations. So I've always a few of those experiences where I did feel a bit anticlimactic, I've reminded myself that it's more about the journey, it's about the whole process, and to enjoy the moment at the end, but to not expect too much from it so that you don't be disappointed. So I'm sure it'll be awesome to hit that goal, look down at the watch at that time, but it's also, oh man, this is so cheesy, but it's about it's about the man journey, not the destination, if you see what I mean. So that's what I'm kind of trying to say. So hopefully I make the goal, but I'm not going to expect too much from it.
And like, there's always another mountain to climb, mate. If we're being cheesy, there's always another time barrier to break, isn't there? I'm sure you'll cross that line and be like, I quite fancy 250 now.
Well, that's what I'm sort of worried about that, because I've kind of just had a year of just really getting into it, and sort of took me by surprise. And then I've got this. I partly think if I get under 3, that might be the point that I don't need to kind of focus too much on it. But who knows? I might, like you say, I might get seduced by the next. Might climb that mountain and just see a slightly other higher peak just further beyond. So who knows?